This is, like I say, dormitory lounge car, this being the lounge portion, and you have, as you look down the far end, you have a bar on the far end, and that was serviced. These little buttons that are in the walls, if you were sitting here, you pushed on that button, there's a board in the bar, the little indicator came up, and that showed the bartender which chair or which table. But this is the bar. Little indicator panel is up on the wall, up high back there. And this becomes the dormitory, the bar area, storage. He took all his store materials in. He had ice boxes. I mean, in '49, they were ice boxes, and then he had a little pass-through door here that he could pass things into the bar. He didn't have to come out here in the hallway all the time. And then these are crew quarters. This one we're using as an office. But this will give you an idea. When we say dormitory, this is where the crew slept. And it's just like the military. 6 bunks in a room, 3 stacked on top of one another. And then you had your own wash sink, and there's a washroom down here at the end of the hall that they had to use. But this was their quarters. Then the steward, who was in charge of the kitchen and or the car and the bars, these were his quarters. He had a Pullman bunk up above. The bottom bunk makes into a bed. He has his own sink that folds down, and he had his own toilet that pulled out. The rest, everybody else in the car had to use this restroom. This is one of those that you have to back into to sit down. And so that was for the passengers, and the rest of the crew used this. This is a lounge, diner, cafe. This one, the lounge part, is not near as big. And this was the car that was used for coach passengers. You'll see a menu up here a little while we go down the car that will show you the prices from 1950s. This is the dining car portion. This is the dining car part. Seats 24. The full-fledged kitchen on the far end of the car. I'll take you in there when we get down to the far end and look into it. And this was the cafe counter part. Menu on the wall, as you can see. Orange juice for 30 cents and things. These are all ice boxes. Behind everything was stainless steel in the cars. Ice boxes. Later years, they did put some cooling units in some of the ice boxes, but all the sinks and stuff that are back here all drained. This is a full-fledged operating kitchen. We'd operate it, but I can't find anybody that wants to clean it. It's wood-fired. And of course your stoves and everything, all the fire boxes are underneath. Water is stored in the tanks above. A portion of this tank is for hot water. And of course all the piping ran down behind the stove. That's how they heated it. They didn't have a hot water heater. They heated it by passing it through the stove. And then a 3-compartment sink with a garbage disposal. And again, everything drained to the tracks. This was their prep side. Hot tables. These have steam pipes or have hot water pipes underneath it. That's what kept the water warm that was in there. Was what they referred to as a cupola part of the caboose. The conductor could ride up here and he could look both directions. Obviously the glass or the plastic, they've replaced the glass and it's got plastic in it now, and of course plastic deteriorates with sun beating on it. But he could ride up there as well as in the other 2 cabooses that you'll see, that he could look for hot boxes, loads shifting and stuff, so that he could then call ahead to the engineer in the cab of the locomotive and say, hey, next station we've got to stop and set one of these cars on. But this is a project that everybody has undertaken. If the train stopped, the conductor had to walk back so many yards, so many hundreds of yards, and place them on the rails. and then if the train ran over them, it would explode, and that would alert the engineer that, hey, there's something a mile ahead of me or 2 miles ahead of me that I've got to stop for. So, yeah, that's the torpedo. We had some that we gave when we got this caboose. There were some in here, and they were starting just like dynamite deteriorates, and so we had the fire department come out. Anyhow, so this was the conductor's home away from home. He was assigned to the caboose. He made the run from Barstow to Los Angeles. The caboose was then taken off the train, and he waited for the next train back to Barstow. So that was his trip. Heated by oil, obviously. He had his own washroom. That car had a washroom in it, although there's nothing in it. It's just an open, small room in there. But these were his facilities. Here he rode. When they rebuilt, he had these have a little more comfortable seats in them. They swiveled, and again, he could ride up there and look either direction on the train, and could watch for shifting loads, hot boxes, and the hot box was nothing more than a wheel bearing. When they had friction bearing trucks, the bearing rode in a bath of oil and rags, and if the oil ran out, you had a fire on your hands, and so that's what he was watching for, between that and shifting loads. He had communications, obviously, with the engineer in the train, and he has air pressure. He's got an air gauge here. He knew what the train line pressure was, and he has a control valve behind him here that if something did go bad, he could then throw that valve and what they call dump the air, and the train would stop. We would set the brakes, and they would stop. This is a Santa Fe caboose.